I never thought a simple midnight trip to the kitchen would change everything. It was just another quiet night until I heard strange noises coming from the living room. My heart pounded as I tiptoed down the hallway, trying to convince myself it was just my imagination. But when I peeked around the corner, I saw something that made my breath hitch. There, in the dim glow of the moonlight, was my stepmom, doing something I never expected. My stepmom and I had always had a polite but distant relationship. She married my dad a few years ago, and while we got along, we weren't exactly close. But that night, everything shifted. She had no idea I was watching, and for a moment, I debated whether to step forward or quietly slip away. But curiosity got the best of me. As I took one hesitant step closer, the floor creaked beneath me. She froze, I froze, and in that split second, she slowly turned around. Her face filled with an expression I couldn't quite read. My stomach tightened. What was she doing? And more importantly, what was she about to say? I had no idea that from this moment on, my life would never be the same. For a moment, we just stared at each other. The dim light from the window cast shadows across her face, making her expression even harder to read. My heart pounded so loudly I was sure she could hear it. I opened my mouth to say something, anything, but no words came out. What was she doing awake at this hour? And why did she look so startled, almost guilty? She finally broke the silence. "What are you doing up?" Her voice was calm, but there was something off about it. I hesitated before answering, unsure if I should even tell the truth. I just came for some water," I muttered. She gave a small nod, but her eyes never left mine. Then she did something even stranger. She glanced toward the small table in the corner, the one my dad always kept locked. My stomach dropped. I never paid much attention to it before, but now I couldn't ignore the way she shifted, almost as if she was blocking it from view. Something was definitely wrong, but before I could say another word, she took a step forward. My breath caught in my throat. What was she about to do? She took a slow step closer, her eyes locked onto mine. My throat felt dry, but I stood frozen, waiting for her to say something, anything that would explain the uneasy feeling creeping up my spine. Instead, she let out a small sigh, glancing back at the locked table for just a second. But that second was enough. "What's in there?" I blurted out before I could stop myself. Her expression hardened just for a moment before softening into something unreadable. "It's nothing you need to worry about," she said, her voice steady but forced. But I wasn't buying it. I had never cared about that table before, but now it felt like the center of some unspoken secret, and she knew it. "You should go back to bed," she added, her tone firm this time. But as I turned to leave, I caught something, a flicker of nervousness in her eyes. What was she hiding? And why did it feel like she was afraid I'd find out? I turned away slowly, but my mind was racing. The way she stood in front of that table, the flicker of unease in her eyes, it all felt too strange to ignore. I took a few steps toward my room, but instead of going inside, I paused just out of sight. I needed to know what she was hiding. A few seconds passed in silence. Then I heard her move. Carefully, I peeked around the corner and saw her kneeling in front of the table. My breath hitched as she pulled a small key from her pocket and unlocked the drawer. My heart pounded as I strained to see what was inside. She reached in, her hands trembling slightly. Whatever it wasn't just some unimportant thing. My stomach twisted as I watched her pull something out and stare at it. Her face looked sad, almost broken. What was she holding? And why did it seem like a secret she never wanted me to know? She let out a shaky breath, her fingers tightening around whatever she had pulled from the drawer. I leaned in, my pulse racing, desperate to see what it was. Then she whispered something under her breath, so soft I almost missed it. But one word sent chills down my spine. My dad's name. I sucked in a breath. Why would she be whispering his name like that? Was something wrong? My mind spiraled with possibilities. Then, as if sensing me, she suddenly turned. Our eyes met, and for the first time, I saw it. Fear. But not just fear. Guilt. She stared at me, her face pale, fingers gripping whatever she held like it was the most important thing in the world. My heart pounded as I stepped forward. "What is that?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. For a moment she said nothing. Then, with a deep breath, she held it out. My stomach twisted as I looked down. It was an old, crumpled letter, my dad's handwriting covering the page. I hesitated before taking it, my hands trembling. As my eyes scanned the words, everything inside me froze. He had written this letter to me, but he never sent it. Tears blurred my vision as I read his words, his regrets, his apologies, things he had wanted to tell me, but never did. I looked up at my stepmom, confusion tightening my chest. "Why didn't you show me this before?" She swallowed hard. "Because I was afraid." "Afraid of what?" I pressed. She hesitated, then whispered, "Afraid you'd hate me." My breath caught, and then I saw it, another letter still inside the drawer, my name on the envelope. But this one wasn't in my dad's handwriting, and suddenly I wasn't sure I was ready to read it. I reached for the second letter, my hands shaking. My name was written in careful, unfamiliar handwriting. I glanced at my stepmom, her eyes filled with something I couldn't quite read. Fear, sadness, maybe both. Slowly, I opened it. As I read the first few lines, my breath caught. This letter wasn't from my dad. It was from her. She wrote about how she had hesitated for years, unsure of how to tell me the truth. How she had found my dad's letter but didn't show me because she was scared I'd shut her out. But more than that, she wrote about how she cared about me, even when I kept my distance. How she never wanted to replace my mom, only to be there for me in whatever way I'd allow. Tears burned in my eyes. I looked up at her, and for the first time I saw her differently, not just as my stepmom, but as someone who had tried in her own way. I didn't say anything at first. Instead, I simply set the letters down and hugged her. She tensed, then slowly she hugged me back. Maybe we weren't perfect, but in that moment we finally understood each other.